Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. It is Bruce Jordan, the Michael Jordan Hotels. And today, I have a man here that needs no introduction. We got Nash Patel in the house. How you been?
I'm good. How you been?
Good to see you. How you enjoying the conference?
I'm loving it, enjoying it. The crowd is right here, and we're at the right place.
For sure, for sure. The first question I ask everybody is, how did you get started in this industry?
Well, I've been in hotel operations and ownership for many years. Of course, my parents or dad started it back in the 70s, and then my mom carried it over after he passed away, and we just kind of grew into it. And then we started a little bit more about financing and franchising, and we had some help, some partnerships, and we built our first one back in 1994. And in '89 actually we built the first one for a brother-in-law of ours. So we got a little bit of construction in us also, and then the rest is kind of history.
Nice. A lot of people, some people don't know your background, especially the general managers and maybe some VPs. Like you've constructed a lot of deals. Like,
we've done quite a few. A large portion of our hotels, pretty much anywhere from on I-10 from Moss Point, Mississippi, all the way down to Jacksonville and all the way down the Turnpike and down. So we've had our hands in a lot of the hotels from ground up, especially. Some acquisitions, but renovations, but mainly ground up.
Now, at this point in the game, are you more focused? Do you like renovations better, or you like the ground up?
I actually like the ground up. I like going vertical on these buildings, and you see a plot of land, and then you come back 3 months later, you start the development on it. And, a year and a half later, you've actually got a product there. I was actually driving down the road in Jacksonville the other day, and I was like, I think that's one of our hotels we built. You start forgetting which ones you've built, which is not a bad thing, but not a good thing either. But yes, I do like new construction. Now, I like large renovation jobs, because if it's a challenge, it makes it more exciting for us. Our team's really good at what they do, and they like challenges.
Like, what is the lifespan of a hotel? Because you see older hotels, a lot of people renovate them, but then, like sheetrock only lasts like 40 years before you have to deal with it.
Yeah. So, it depends on the product and when you build it, right? So you have a couple of different construction methods. You have cold steel foam, and then you have block and plank. You have cast in place, and then you have your stick buildings. I always encourage my clients to go that step further and build something that's going to last. So if they do and they build it with block and pan CMU walls, it's going to last a lot longer. But if you build it with the stick buildings, in 30, 35 years. But as far as renovation goes, we highly recommend anywhere from every 7 to 10 years, get in there and make sure the properties contain the main standards that they need to be.
Nice. You have everybody that's jumping on the extended stay wave, and then you have some people that say, I'm going to take my existing hotel and I'm just going to convert it over to extended stay. And then they run into these little surprises like, hey, my electrical system won't hold up. I got to rewire this whole building. So, what are some of the surprises you ran into when you had those issues?
Funny you mentioned. So we had a 60-unit hotel quite a few years back, and we were converting into an extended stay. And at that time, not knowing that we'd have to bring in 15 amps in each room in order to just operate the stove itself, even though it was just an infrared stove. So yes, but those are things that if you're working with a good group of people that's done it before, they know the pitfalls. And we're able to navigate through it because we don't try to go in and underbid a job just to get in and come back with this great change order. Having a good architect, having a good engineer, having a good MEP guy, which is, doing your drawings, they understand what's needed based on what you currently have. So they do, and you're right, there's a lot of people out there, they get sold this dream about, you just convert it over, and, they think it's going to be a few $100 fix, and it's not.
Nah.
It's not. Sprinkler systems.
Yeah.
If it's an interior corridor, they're going to make you put a sprinkler system.
Yeah.
They don't calculate that.
And the average sprinkler system lasts 25, 30 years. So you're literally replacing your sprinkler system bit by bit every 10 to 15 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
I had a valve go out on me. I'm like, oh, no problem. And it was just this little bushing inside the valve. Like, yeah, 10 grand to replace it. I'm like, what? Weld that bushing back together.
No, they do. There's a lot of pitfalls in construction and renovation. You got to navigate through it. And again, it's, just know what you're doing. As a hotel owner, again, we've been fortunate because we have been building. But there's a lot of hotel owners that have never built before. They're buying properties and, they get this PIP, which is great. And the PIP will call out a lot of things, but they'll look at it. And again, I'm guilty of this also. You look at the PIP, it's carpeting. Oh, we got to take the sinks out. Okay, no problem. We got to take this out, no problem. But every time you touch that wall, code's going to make you upgrade it to the current code. So that's cost. And
Correct.
those costs start adding up, and then you realize I didn't factor all this cost into it. So they just do due diligence.
Now, can you explain grandfathering? How does it work, and what can you get away with when it comes to grandfathering something in?
The very few things are going to be grandfathered in. If you have a old building that's in a historical site and you're not able to retrofit that to meet the current standards, then you have a possibility of saying we're grandfathered in.
Okay.
But if it has the potential to be worked into where the current code is, they're going to make you do it. They're going to make you do it. Yeah, so, it's a lot of these older hotels that are out there, mainly with ADA, right? So those are the reasons why somebody wants to get grandfathered in, because the ADA's law continue to change.
Correct.
But if the building's just not, there's a terminology for it, that if you're not able to, and there's every means and methods taken to look at it, and architecture says no, MEP says no, you can't, and it's an exuberant cost, then they will consider, like, hey. But there's a lot of times now they come up with solutions.
Yeah, because if you have to literally tear the whole building down, come on, like that doesn't make any sense.
So those things that they do let grandfather in.
Okay. And the internet, like I've been getting crazy because everybody wants fast internet now. Yeah. And nobody wants to rewire their whole building and strip out the Cat 5, put in a Cat 6. Like, what are some of the solutions that you're seeing with that one?
There's a lot of good technology companies out there. They're coming out with a lot of wireless stuff now. So it's worked out well. So, a few years ago, there was that issue about, you have any cables in there, whether or not, just through age and time, those cables are not, holding up the broadband as it's supposed to. But there's a lot of solutions that are out there now. And it was wireless stuff that they've got going on. It works well.
Nice. Have you ever had any like major telephone issues? Because those wires are so old that.
I think telephone's one of those things where, personally speaking, I don't think anybody uses those phones unless you're calling front desk.
Correct.
But there have been major issues in some of these phones that are in their older hotels. But again, a good technology guy that understands it, it's a dinosaur in our business, but it's called Patel. Patel used to put these phone systems in all the rooms. So a lot of them still operate, and a lot of them's advanced, and then now they have an advanced version, but those wiring that put through those walls, they do need to get replaced from time to time. But they're able to work it out. And again, I'm not a telephone guy, an expert, but I've seen some of these guys do wonders. How to figure it out and go in there and get it operating, and it works out well.
Top 3 issues you had with new builds, besides getting past the inspector. That's probably number 1.
Cost is number 1. Understanding that you get this dollar and budget in your mind based on a brand that's telling you this is what it's going to cost, but not understanding that's just the vertical portion to the hotel. There's a lot more cost that goes into it, right? And that's bare minimum. It's going to, they'll put maybe on $85,000. Cost is one of the ones that it's difficult for a builder like me to go to a client and explain to him that even though it says 85, it's not going to be 85. And here are the reasons why. And we're very transparent in the way we do things, and they love us for that. But so that's one of the biggest issues that we run into. And the second, material and suppliers. We've had issues, with switchgear, because there's, tariffs put on China. So now China has to send all their stuff to Mexico, and you buy it from Mexico. But it's about 8 months in waiting for switchgear.
Wow.
So then we had to sit there and convert that switchgear from, 1,600 amp panels to 800 amp panels or to 400 amp panels, because those were easily and readily available. So that's been some of the hardships that we have faced, but nothing that we overcome, because, you navigate. So now what we do is, as soon as we know the hotel is ready for construction, the electrician, we go ahead and pre-buy all that equipment.
Smart.
Knowing it's going to be in, even if it sits in a warehouse for 3 months, we're fine. But as long as we don't have to wait 3 months for the switchgear and delay the project. Because you're going to pay for it today, or you're going to pay for it 4 months from now. Just pay for it for today, get it in, have it sitting. So we did that.
That's one thing I don't understand is like, it's cheaper to pay for it now, because with inflation and everything else, you're paying 5, 10, 15% more if you wait until later. So why not just get it out of the way?
Well, because the financing model is a little
archaic.
Yeah, because the banks are going to say, well, You put in your payment for a draw application. You put it in there. If you put $600,000 you won on the first draw, the first question, well, you haven't even started the building yet.
Yeah.
So we have to explain to them, here are the reasons why we need to get these things paid first. So there's a lot of lenders that we work with that understand that because they know they're going to have to pay for it. We show them the reasons why the delays. We show them the real life examples, what's happening.
Nice.
So that works out for us. But that was the main reason why people would have to wait. And as an owner, I don't want to pay my contractor for something that I'm going to use 6 months from now because that interest starts.
Yeah.
You see? So once you pull that money from the back, your interest starts.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What's number 2?
So that was number 2. Actually, the first one was, of course, we talked about. The second one was the one where we have this supply issue. And I would say the third one is labor.
Okay.
Okay, so, in construction, there's a lot of labor available, but skilled labor
Rare.
is a little hard to find.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the 3, I think, but it hasn't been extremely difficult, but they've been challenging. So one of the things that we do is I'm using just an electrician, for example. So electrician probably carries about 15 electricians that work with him as his laborers and as a journeyman electrician. But at times they can't get those 15 people to come on the job site. So what we try to do is we try to supplement. Otherwise, if you're supposed to have 10 people for 10 days, but you only have 5, that means you've extended it by 10 days because you're half the labor. So what we try to do is we do use outsourcing companies and we get skilled labor to come in and assist because whether the electrician pays his people, we pay somebody else. As long as he's got 10 people on the job and the schedule doesn't get, delayed, it works out well. Nice. I think that's probably some of the challenges, but nothing we can't overcome. We touch wood, and we're thankful that, we're in an industry that's continuing to grow. We did think for a while that there was going to be a halt in construction based on interest rates. But there's a lot of hotels that have set aside to see if the interest rates come down, but we've been fortunate that our clients have the capacity to continue lending.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How do you work the loans? Like, because I hear there's the bridge loan and then this loan gets paid off and like.
Yeah, you start off with a construction loan. A lot of banks, they do participation loans based on the size of the loan, right? So there's a bridge loan and there's unconventional lenders that will come in and do the construction loan. With that same group, we're already having a partnership with a bank that will take over once we get CO. And then they transfer over into the permanent. All the rates are pre-negotiated, and it works out well, pending no delays or, hurricanes or something that happens where you can slow down a little bit. But that's one of the key things that helps us, that we're able to find construction money.
Nice.
Because the traditional lenders, they kind of tighten up a little bit. They don't want to put too much money into construction. So we have this a la carte group of people, a lot of people actually, at these lending institutions and lending conventions that are ready and willing. Interest is a little higher, of course, instead of 7, it's going to be 10, but you get the hotel built and knowing that you're going to go back to a decent rate once the construction's over with, because they're in the business to make money too, right?
That's right. That's right. I even hear like some banks are starting to consider hotels high risks.
Yes.
And if you have too many hotel assets on your portfolio, there's a company out in Texas, all they do is hotels. Like 80% of their portfolio is hotels. And the bank was like, you got to break this up.
Yeah.
And like, why would we break this up when we specialize in this? And be like, this is what we know. We're going to break it up to go into something that we don't know that doesn't make any sense.
Well, and to answer that, we were doing business with a bank that had a large percentage of the portfolio in hotels. And I think what happens is they're afraid if that industry goes down, then that means the majority of the bank's loans are going to be in default. So they want to kind of like spread the wealth into different industries, right? Retail, whether it be restaurant and hotels and shopping centers and malls and parking lots. I think that's one of the reasons the lenders have this capacity now that the board makes a decision that, okay, only 30 or 40% of our assets are going to be invested into hotels in the event of a recession or a downfall in the industry, for whatever reason that may be, right? They don't know, so I think that's one of the reasons why.
Wow.
Because we've felt that also. We've had some banks saying, well, we reached our capacity in hotel loans. I was like, what does that mean? And then they're like, okay, here's the reasons why. Some of the larger banks don't have a capacity, but they pick and choose, and they go by brands too. If you're building a high-end hotel, we'll borrow. If if you're building a limited service hotel, sorry, we're not interested. So, pick and choose, right? And we got to play by their rules.
That's right. That's right. Any other tips you could give us?
No, due diligence, I think is very important if you're going into hotel construction or even buying a hotel and you're going to renovate that hotel. Understand, get somebody qualified that knows what that cost is going to be, and always budget enough to where you'll get good sleep at night. Because there's a lot of times people get into these hotels, including us, and the reason why we know what we know is because we made all the mistakes.
That's right.
So we're hoping that our clients won't make the mistakes, and if they listen, they won't. But sometimes they're not going to listen because they know what they're doing, which is okay. But we try to navigate through it. But if you do your due diligence and if you look at the right people and get the right opinions and directions, and do a layout and do a dry run or white paper, whatever you want to call it, walk through the whole scenario where you're going to be after it's open, after you renovate it, after the money's been put up, then you can get a better picture. But when they go in blindly to buy the hotel, the next, we're going to renovate it. We're going to renovate it too. Well, then they realize there's not even a flag available in that market. You see, so again, if you're buying a hotel, you need to know what the plan is and the long-term plan is. You make that plan and go do your due diligence, see what flag's available. Or are you going to convert it over from one brand to the other? Well, go see if it's available. Just because the guy told you it's available doesn't make it available, right?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So that would be pretty much it.
Man, okay, well, listen, tell everybody how they get in touch with you.
Well, so NashBuiltInc.com. Of course, NashBuilt Construction is the name of our firm, and we are a full construction firm. So we do pre-construction, post-construction, construction. And what I mean by that is, as a general contractor, a lot of general contractors will come in, they'll build your hotel, and that's the capacity of it. Well, we've been in the hotel industry. We understand what it takes not only to get your DBPR license, your pool permit, your ADA, negotiate with the brands, work with the brands to do construction, your FF&E companies, your procurement. So we do all of it. And I think that's one of the reasons that we are successful is because, the clients really don't understand and they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So we take that whole burden off of them and we make sure that our office, and we have a solid team of people that work for us. So it's not just me and, you met Jay, my brother, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just the two of us. I think they make work easier for us because they also come from an industry background. Mm-hmm. So they know what to do when it comes to even operations or management companies, working with them through renovation or construction. So that's what we do. So.
Nice. Listen, that pool permit is no joke. I got my I know nothing about pools, but I have my CPO just to get a permit. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely want to make sure you go with expertise over here. Leave it to the experts. Don't try to go in on your own. All right, but thank you for joining us, and thank you for just. I appreciate
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
Of course.
That's a wonderful convention. I'm glad I'm here. Last year was the first year I missed the NashBuilt convention, but I've been here since the inception, and that was because me and my wife and our kids were traveling. So Jay and Andy actually gave me a furlough for that. All right, we'll let you pass on it. So, but I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here for sure. And thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. And this is Bruce Jordan of Michael Jordan Hotels signing out.
Thanks.
This episode was brought to you by the Hotel Revenue Bible, the #1 hotel revenue book that has ever been written. It includes revenue management, digital ads, social media marketing, sales, catering, F&B, and more. Grab your copy today at hotelrevenuebible.com.